Hey, so in this video, I'm going to build a human-in-the-loop AI sales agent live in front of you that takes lead form submissions, it adds it to your CRM, it drafts a sales email, it routes it to your team for feedback, and automatically revises it until it's ready to send. In case it's your first time here, my name is Michele, and over the past 12 months, I've helped over 40 businesses across multiple industries implement AI and automations, and I've also taught over 15,000 people in the process, all starting with no technical knowledge. So today, I'm going to build the entire system from scratch in n8n. I'm going to walk you through my whole thought process, the whole detours, the mistakes I make, and everything that I go through, so you get to see what an actual development process looks like when you're building automations. And if you stick around until the end, let me show you how you can grab the whole system for free. Let's dive in. So this is the automation we're going to build. It's built on n8n, and it all starts with the lead form submission. And this is typically what the client or the lead, whatever it is, they actually fill out to start the automation. That's the trigger. Then we add it to our CRM, which is in Google Sheets. Then we talk to our sales agent, which will draft an email, a sales email that will be sent to us first. So this is the human in the loop element. It will send it to us, we'll revise it, give feedback. If the feedback is negative, it will send it to another AI agent to revise, to make the feedback, make the changes based on what we told it, send it back and do the whole repetitive loop until it's positive. And once we approve the email, it will then send it to the customer. Okay, so let me show you exactly how it works from the start until the end. I'm gonna execute the workflow, which will run the automation once. I'm gonna go here and now I'm gonna start filling it out. So my name, company name will be GM Solutions. Budget can be 1.5. Project description, we are looking to generate leads for our real estate business. And then time it can be 1 to 3 weeks. When we press submit here, this will trigger the automation. So the form is itself, that's what the customer will do. It will send it to the first agent to check against projects that we've done before, to actually incorporate results and testimonials into the email. It will then send it to us. So the next step we have to do is go to our email, go to this email over here, action required, new lead budget of 1 to 5. And this is what their internal team in the company is going to look at. They're going to look at the email, they're going to respond. So this is a place where you get to give feedback for the email. So, hey, thanks for reaching out. You're telling me 1 to 3 weeks. You recently helped another client. So see how it incorporates testimonials here. And it says, are you available for a 15-minute call this week? Okay, let me tell it, don't ask a question at the end. Just say, or just ask a few times. No, just ask to provide a few times that work for them next week. Right, and this is the feedback that I'm gonna give to the agent. I'm gonna press submit, go back here. You see how now it routes it to the denied path because we denied the actual email. We said, hey, make changes, is not good. It will now send it back to us. So if we go here to my email, I will have another email here, which I can go through. I can respond. And here, as we can see, it changed the email based on the feedback that we gave it. So please share a few times that work for you. So I'm gonna say, okay, looks good. I submit it. And now, because it's positive, it will send it to the actual customer or the lead. So I'm gonna go here. And now, since I'm the lead itself, I'm going to get an email saying lead generation results for your real estate business. And I get a whole customized email for me. Now that's where there is the automation that we're going to build step by step. And the application on this on a business side is that a lot of customers or a lot of companies, they have a lot of forms on the websites, but the whole process from when the lead fills out the form to when they are replied to and so on, it's a very manual process for companies. And what we're doing here is not only saving that time for the company to be able to reply to those emails automatically, but actually making it custom and also incorporating our feedback into the whole process as well, right? And that's exactly what we're doing. All right, cool. So I'm gonna start from scratch and I'm gonna go to another workflow, personal and test builds, create a workflow. Okay, and we're gonna start here. And before we get to the actual build and actually putting any steps into it, I usually like to map out the automation, what it looks like. It's sort of like a plan that I have before I get to the actual build. So it all starts with the form. So the first place is form. And I add a sticky note saying what kind of things do we want on the form. In this case, it's name, email, budget, intent, timeline, and project description. Because that's what we want in the email. Then on the form, or after the form, we ideally want to make sure that we add it to the CRM. So add responses to CRM. And the CRM can be Sheets, it can be ClickUp, it can be Asana, whatever you have, or HubSpot. And then you can then, after we add it to the CRM, talk to the first agent. So first agent to write sales email. Then ideally we want to send it back, send it to us for feedback and approval. And now it can go either two ways. If we approve it, it goes to send the email to the lead. If you don't approve it, using the feedback that we gave it, it will then send it back. So I could have two paths here. I could have already red and green, right? That's approve or deny. So if we approve it, deny. So once it's approved, again, we will send it to the customer, so the lead. So in this case, it will be send email to lead. And if it's denied, then we want to have second agent, so second revision agent right here, which will then send it back to us for feedback, right? And that's exactly what we want to build. So we start with a form. So there's a form that lead fills out with different variables right here or questions. Then we add the responses to our CRM. In this case, it's Google Sheets. Then we add we talk to the first agent to write the sales email. Then we send it to us for feedback and approval. And I forgot to add one more step here, which is, in this case, it's a intent agent. Okay, I'll explain exactly what that is. Because we give feedback, but how does the system know whether it's positive feedback or whether it's negative feedback? How does it know whether it's accepted or denied, right? So this is intent, so feedback intent agent. Feedback intent agent. Okay, and now if it's approved, so it goes there, send the email to the lead. And if it's not approved, then we talk to our second agent, which will write the email. Make this smaller. So quick note here, you don't actually build automations and go straight to the platform and start building them. You always want to have a process to actually map things out, map out what you want to build first, and then go on and build it. It's sort of like you're building a castle on a foundation of sand. So you always want to make sure you have that roadmap and that guide that you can then take when you're building automations. All right, so let's go to n8n and actually build it. The first step, of course, because we have the form, we have to create a form. Now, thankfully, we have n8n, which has an internal way of creating the forms. What I mean by this is that they have just an internal n8n form right here. So we can use this. We go here, generate form, and we can use the trigger. So the trigger just means what's the first thing that starts the automation. And in this case, it will be on a new n8n form event. So if I press this button, it'll take me to this page where I have a few things to look at. The first thing is test URL versus production URL. And test URL just means that this URL will be used when we are filling out the form on test mode. So when we activate the automation right here, then only do we use the production URL, okay? So test URL is what we're using right now to test it, but production is when you're activated. Authentication is when you want to add a password. So you want to add a password to this form. So let's say I add a basic auth, name credential, I can create a new credential. I can name it YouTube human in the loop agent. I'm definitely not going to remember what this is. User will be user, and then it will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let me show you exactly what this is. Close, it's fine. No thanks. And now I can do new lead submission. I want to show you exactly what the basic auth is. I can execute the step and see before we actually get to the form, it asks us for a password. Well, why do we do this? It's sort of like you're putting a password on your phone. You don't want everyone to have access to it. You want only the people who have the password to have access to it. So in this case, if I put the password that I put before, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and sign in, then I can obviously do the form and whatever I have right on there, and I can submit. In this case, there's no questions, but that's what I do, and I get the output. So that's what basic auth is. Form title. So let me actually turn this off because I don't want the password. So this will just be free. The title will be this. So this will be, we can add this as, we'll get back to you as soon as possible. Now that we have the description and the title, we want to add the elements. So in this case, we spoke about having name, email, budget, intent, timeline, and project description. So to add questions, we have to add a form element. So in this case, it can be full name. It will be text. Placeholder will be James Lowe. So this is the thing that you see before you actually fill it out to give you an idea of what you have to fill out there. Required, yes, will be required. Then we have, let's say, email. So this will be email. And email could be james.lowe@gmail.com. That's what we have here. And we can also make this required. So the user has to fill it out. And then we have another question here. which can be company name. In this case, we didn't add it here, but it can be a question. So let me do it here, company name. JM Solutions, which is the company name that I have. And then we have budget. So budget can be not a text, but it can be a drop down. So drop down just means you have different options. So option 1 will be less, well, I can just do this, less than 1,000. Add a field option. Option 2 will be 1,000 to 3,000, like this. And then 3,000 to 5,000. And then another field option, 5,000 plus. So in this case, more than 5,000. That's for budget. And then we have project description. So in this case, it wouldn't be this, be required. Project description, which would be a text field. So you can just add, we want a system that, boom. We can give it up to the user. Required field, and then we have timeline. So timeline, again, it can be a drop down because we want to give them a few options. It can be within 1 week, 1 to 3 weeks, and then we can do 3 weeks above. So 1 week to 3 weeks, and then we can do 3 weeks plus. All right, cool. So the last thing we have to fill out is respond when. So this is saying, when do we want to send the data? In this case, we want to send the data when the form is submitted. But there are cases where you want to send the data when the workflow finishes. So you start the form, and does it only submit? Does it only send the confirmation of submission when the actual workflow finishes, when the automation finishes? In this case, we don't need this. We just have form submitted. So whenever the user submits the form, it starts the automation, and we can now test it. So in this case, as I mentioned, we're testing it. So we're using the URL here. I can execute the step. I can now just fill out the form. So for company name, budget, it can be 3,000. Project description, we want more leads, and 1 to 3 weeks, right? If I go back here, I can see that this is the output that I get. So we triggered the form using the n8n, and now we get this output. So full name, email, company name, and so on. Now we can use these variables. So these are called dynamic variables because they are dynamic. They change every single time. And then we can use them for the next steps. So form is good. Took us a minute to put this together, but now we can add this to the CRM. So the CRM will be a Google Sheets. So let me add the Google Sheet here. We can do CRM, intake, YouTube human in the loop, agent. I have so many Google Sheets of these, so I have to make sure that I know exactly which Google Sheet is what. So this can be full name. I think we had company or email. Let me just quickly check. I have company name, full name, email, company name, budget, project description, and timeline. God, how did I forget already? Budget, project description, and timeline. Yeah. Project description. And now we have timeline. Let me make this bold. Let me make this here white. I like to make this pretty. That's it. Okay, cool. Now that we made the CRM, and typically we use Google Sheets because that's the easiest, but a company probably wouldn't have Google Sheets. They would have a HubSpot, they would have a Notion, or they would have a ClickUp where they store all the leads that come through. But this is just for testing purposes. All right, so once we made the CRM, we can now connect it. So to connect the form to the Google Sheets, we just have to press plus, look for Google Sheets right here. And now we want to append a row. Append just means add, right? So we want to append a row in a sheet. Connect your account. So you can connect your account by creating a new credential. In this case, you can sign in with Google. I'll do it step by step. My email. Continue. Connection successful. So if I go back, I can see that the account was connected. I usually would recommend naming it the email. So 5, and then the date, which is 28th of August. Okay, cool. And you press save. So now the connection is done. The resource is sheet within document, append a row, because that's the action that we're doing. There's a bunch of stuff that we can do. And we're going to use, I believe it's get rows. Yeah, we're going to use get rows later on. Now it's asking for the document. The document in this case is the CRM intake YouTube human in the loop. That's a long name. Okay, right there. I know it's that one because we named it, so that's good. And sheet 1 will be the sheet that we have to map. Again, sheet 1 is here. And now it's asking us to put the values to send. So in this case, we're mapping each column manually because we are manually adding variables for each column. And we're saying, hey, full name needs to go in column 1, which is full name. Second column is email, company name, budget, description, and timeline. We do everything for the different columns. So full name, let me drag it across right here. Email, drag it across here. Company name, here. Budget, here. Project description, here. Timeline. Oh, I forgot to add one more, which is date submitted. All right, cool. I want the date submitted because I want to know exactly when they submitted the date or when they submitted the form, because that's always good to know. I can just refresh here, and now it gives me the column that I put. And now this is a variable, so submitted at, which tells me the date. This gives me also the time and all that sort of stuff. So we're going to drag this across submitted at. And now I wouldn't want this like this. So I'm going to format this in a way where it's actually readable for the company and they can actually understand. I mean, because who's going to understand this? They're going to have to spend time even thinking about what this means. So to do it, I believe it's format date. No, it's not that. Okay, so let's see why it doesn't work. Let me see what I have. Suggested 2-day time. Okay. And then we have to format it, right? Right here. Yeah, format. And now it's asking me to format it in the right way. In this case, you see the result. The way that this is set up, we just added the formula. www.mmdd will result in this. In this case, I probably wouldn't want it like that. Let me just go to the formatting guide, which will show me exactly the kind of formula that I need to add. God, this looks crazy with the color that I have. In this case, we can do this. August 6th, so let me do FF. So if I do FF here, it should show, yeah, 28th of August, 2025 at 6:20. Yeah, that's perfect. Now, if I execute this step, which will use the previous variables to actually add it to the sheet, if I go here, I can see that the responses were added here. Okay, so gem solution, this, and then we also have the date. Space this out, and then that's good. Okay, cool. So now that we have this, we can go to our next step, which is actually making the sales email. So in order for us to make the sales email, we have to use a agent. Okay, there's a few reasons why. We typically would have, like, this is an agent workflow because we're also formatting the email, and I'll explain exactly what it means. But if you go to AI, you can either use an agent or you can just simply use an LLM. I typically use an agent because we're doing different actions with the thing. Like we're not just telling the agent write the email, but we're also telling it, hey, format it. And AI agents are usually very good at taking something and then doing something with it, as in doing different actions. So I'm gonna press AI agent to connect this step to here. And now I'm gonna rename this sales. So first, sales agent, sales email agent, rename. And now I have to connect this to 3 different things. And I have to put a prompt inside, which is the main thing. So here, chat model will be OpenAI. To connect your OpenAI here, create a new credential. You have to go to platform.openai.com, sign up, so log in. I want to show you everything because I feel like this is one of the things that, it's like the small things that actually matter when you build automations. Dashboard, go to API keys, create an API key, name it whatever you want, right? And then you have, so let's actually do it. Human in the loop. Agent, YouTube, create a secret key. Don't worry about any of this. This is the API key. So save this because you're not gonna be able to re-access it unless you make a new one. So we go back to n8n, API key, paste it here. Then you save it and then it will automatically be connected, okay? Close. All right, cool. Then you wanna connect it to 4.1 mini, that's fine. And actually we have to go inside the agent first before we do the other ones. So let me go inside. And now we have to do a few things. The first thing is source for prompt. So this is asking us what is that thing that's going into the AI agent every single time. In this case, it would be the details of the lead, right? Which will be the details of the form, which is why we have to change this. So this right here, it says connect to chat trigger node. This means that usually when you have an AI agent, you chat to it and then it does something, which is why we're using chat trigger node. But in this case, we're using a form. So we have to change this to define below. And now here, we have to add the things that are going into the agent every single time. So I can go here to expression, go full screen, and now I can add the lead details to the form. So in this case, it can be, here's the lead, here's the new lead intake information. Then we can start adding it. So full name right here. Yeah, drag it across. Email, company name, budget, project description, timeline. And then I also want to add something else later on. But email goes here, company name goes here, budget goes here, project description goes here. All right, so the reason why, and now this is basically changing every single time. So these variables will change as the form submissions change, which is what we want, because we want the sales email to be different every single time for every lead. But the reason we're putting it in the user message is because in the user message, we add the things that change. The system message, which is what we find here, system message, this is what we tell the AI agent what it needs to do, right, in general, and the identity that it has. So if I go here, I can now start adding the system message. I'm gonna go here. There's a prompt that we're gonna give the agent for it to think through what it needs to do and what it is. I'm gonna copy the prompt from the other agent that I built before and paste it here. And by the way, you can either take a screenshot and put it through ChatGPT and tell it, hey, can you transcribe this? Or I'm gonna show you at the end how you can get the whole resource for free, the whole blueprint, so don't worry. But this basically is saying, you are an expert salesperson for an agency that delivers AI solutions. Your job is to respond to incoming leads by addressing their needs in a professional manner. You'll receive an information that looks like a lead, project description and timeline, and your goal is to convince them and let them know that we are the best AI agency on the market. The projects, so the tools, right? So this is the typical instruction that we have. We have overview, we have the tools that are connected to the agent, and then we have the rules. Now, I'm gonna explain to you what it is, something we forgot to add to the Miro right here, when the first agent actually is doing, because we want the agent to be connected to the Google Sheet with project results, because we want to incorporate results to our email. So we don't want to say, hey, thanks for filling out the form, we can definitely help. We want to say, hey, I saw that you do a lead generation, I saw that you're looking for a lead generation project. We actually did a lead generation project for John a few months ago and we got this results. We can help you, right? So it's always good to incorporate proof into what you're doing. So we want to connect this to Google Sheet. We want to connect this as well to, let's leave it to Google Sheet, right? So in this case, that's why we see the projects. So this is the tool, that's Google Sheets in this case, where it gets the different rows from our Google Sheets to then give to the AI agent for it to actually use to make the email. We say use this tool to search through the previous project we've done that can be included in. Okay, cool. So to actually make the tool, we have to make the sheet, because right here is the intake, but then right here is the projects. So what we want here is a way for the agent to pull projects in or pull results that we've done before. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the results that I had before. And bear in mind, this is something that the company can start adding every single time after a minute. The agent will always be automatically updating, as in it will take all the rows that are here. So if you keep adding, that's fine. It will keep on taking whatever's here. And again, these are the projects that are going to be included when the agent needs to refer to, let's say someone said lead gen, it will use this example for a result in lead gen project. Same thing with general tech, onboarding, content, and whatever it is. So actually now that I start to think about it, we forgot to add the intent. Okay, which is drop down, lead generation. Then we have content creation. And this is something that happens, right? You just think through, you just forget. That's why I want to show you the raw version of me building automations, because that's what actually drives value to people. Onboarding automation. Let's do general automation support. All right, so yeah, this is definitely needed when we have to give to the agent for it to pull information from the Google Sheet. So let's rerun this. Let me actually update this. Let me go here. Let me do intent. Actually, so we have to shift this and then put here. Let me run this first. Let me just fast forward to me filling it out. right, so I submitted the form. Now we have this data to work with. We can pin it, right? Pinning it just means that we don't have to rerun the form every single time to execute the next nodes, the automation. We can use this as test data for the next steps. And now we want to add this to, I'll refresh this. Okay, this is good. Intent will be going here, okay? Cool, so now we also want to give it the intent. So let me go here, let me say intent. Submission, we can put the intent here. All right, cool. Now we want to go here, and now because we are able to give the intent to the agent, now I can use the projects, right? Because the intent is what's linked to here, to the projects. Perfect. Okay, so let's go here. We also give it some rules. So keep the email concise and professional, under 100 words. This comes from reactive prompting rather than active prompting, which just means that we prompt as we get errors, we prompt as we iterate, as we get feedback, and feedback only comes from actually using the automation, actually running it. We give it a few objectives. Retrieve information about the projects with the lead to prove that the team is capable. Okay, so this is the part where we tell it to use previous projects results to give in the email. Always write the email in HTML because Gmail, to make it look pretty, so to make it look like this with new lines, this is called new line, 1 and 2 spaces between lines, we use something called HTML tags. So break, so this right here, BR, really stands for break, right? And that's why we add 1, that will just do a new line. If we add 2, that will be 2 new lines, 1, 2. Okay, so this is very important. And then don't add any emojis in email. Yeah, definitely don't add emojis, because in the sales emails, emojis are the worst thing you can add. Perfect. We're gonna use this later on, but don't worry about it now. Now we can connect this to the Google Sheets. So go Google Sheets tool, connection we did, all this we already did. The resource will be, the resource will be sheet within document, and we can get rows. So we wanna get the rows, we wanna get these, and we wanna let the AI actually think through which result, which project it needs to use to then make the sales email. So the document will be CRM, YouTube, human in the loop agent. The sheet will be projects. I'm gonna leave this empty. So execute step. And now see how it got the 4 different rows. Lead gen, responses, onboarding, or content, onboarding, and general tech. Right, and now that's what's gonna use to actually make the email to incorporate the results into the email. All right, cool. So now that we did this, we can now, I'm gonna show you exactly why we have to add something else to the agent, because it's a bit more technical, but it's actually very, very easy to understand once you see why we need it in the first place. So I'm gonna run this. I'm gonna show you exactly what we need this for. This agent right here, what it did is that it just wrote the email, okay? So dear Michele, we specialize in custom AI-driven lead generation systems and understanding it. Okay, the only problem with this is that we don't get the subject line and we don't get the body of the email in two different variables. So if I paste this all into Gmail, there will be no subject line. So for us to be able to make an email that has a subject line and an email body, we need it to be in a very specific format, right? That's why we toggle this on, which is require specific output format, because we want the subject line and the email to be in 2 different variables. So once this is turned on, we have a new option here, which is output parser. We can just press this, structured output parser. And don't worry, I'm going to copy what I had before, but when you get the blueprint, you can directly have it. But what I'm basically saying is, let me just copy this, that I want the first property, so the first variable here is subject line, which is the subject line of the email, and then the email body, which is the body of the email, and then the required is subject line and the email body. So we want the actual output format to be in a subject line and the body of the email. So let me show you the difference now when I run this. Okay, let's see why there's an error. All right, so after some error handling, I realized that the code here was wrong. I actually just pasted the right one. So in this case, again, it was just a few tweaks. Subject is subject line, and then we have email body required. Again, if you have the whole setup, you can just have it here, so don't worry. But you wanna make sure that this is right. And by the way, if you ask me, how did I get this code? You can simply go to ChatGPT and you can say, hey, I'm feeding the AI, I'm feeding the code parser an email with the subject line and the body together. I wanna output it as 2 different variables. One is subject, one is email body, and it will give you this code right here. So you can see here, we have a subject line and we have an email body, okay? So now we can go to the next step. The next step is actually setting this. So setting the edit fields set. Why do we do this? It's because Ideally, when we go to the next step, which is human in the loop agent, which is what you're here for, is we get the feedback and then we get the intent of the feedback. If it's positive, we send it to the customer. If it's negative, then we reroute it back. But the only problem is that we want to route the same variable back to the agent or back to the human in the loop agent. So it's better if I show you rather than tell you because it makes much more sense. But in this case, let's just set two variables, which is subject. I'm going to press here, which in this case is JSON output subject and email body, right? Which is email body. Okay, so these are the two different variables. And now when we route it back to the agent that actually has to do the revision, we loop it back here. Okay, we loop it back here for it to use these variables to reroute it back. Okay, so now that we have the variables set, we can then go to the human in the loop element. So human in the loop will be human in the loop right here. And you can see we don't have only email, we have Google Chat, we have Outlook, we have different softwares. In this case, we are using Gmail, so we can go here. To connect your Gmail to n8n, we have to go here, sign in with Google. It will take you through the same thing that we went through before. Message, send, and waiting for response. That's the thing that is human in the loop. The email is who are we sending the email to for it to give us feedback. In this case, we can put my email. If I go here, on the email, I think we added action required, new lead with budget. Okay, so we put the budget here. And then here we put, hey, Michele, we have a new lead. Okay, maybe project description and then email drafted. Okay, cool. So here, subject line will be this, new lead with budget of, and this variable will be changed because that's the thing that changes every single time. And the fields, no, it's actually form submissions. I can go to budget right here. So it will change. And then the message, like I mentioned before, is, hey, Michele, we have a new lead form submission. Please revise the email and give feedback on the copy. So in this case, we can just add two, so this just, it's just two headings, heading 2. We can do a project description. So the internal team has a context to what we're giving feedback on. Project will be here. And now we can add the email. So subject, I would add the subject line. Subject, actually I do email. I think this would work with Markdown. This is Markdown format. Subject line will be used, which is this. Then we have email body, which is this. Let's test this. Let's see if it works, how it works, when it works, why it works. So waiting for input. Okay, cool. So now we go here. You can see, okay, so this didn't work. So we have to take this out. But I can go here. I can see that we got the email. So that's all good. Okay, perfect. Okay, I also realized just now that, so let me just give you feedback. Like I can approve. Perfect. I realized that this, so email doesn't, as I mentioned before, email needs HTML, not, it needs HTML, not Markdown format. This is Markdown. In order to put HTML, so in order to put heading 2 on HTML, we have to use this here. And then to close it, we have to use this // And then same thing with this. And then we can just remove this. I don't think we need it. No body. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Okay, and then we can add, please provide feedback on the email. If you have, actually, no, if you have. Perfect. Now, as you can see, when I went to the email, it actually just asked me to approve. But in this case, we want to leave space for feedback. So in this case, we want to add free text. So what this means is that when he sends us the email to revise, we don't just press approve. We can also press approve and deny, right? But we want to add text. We want to add feedback. So we can say, hey, change this, change that, and then it will then send it to the agent to revise it and then change it, right? Because free text is what we need. I want to take off append n8n attribution, which is just this. Automated n8n. It's saying, hey, n8n, I did this. So we can do this. We can execute the step again. And now if I get the email, I can see that it says respond. And the response, now I can give feedback. Okay, so I can say, hey, this needs to be more concise and professional. Submit. And now that's the feedback that's going to come through. So, hey, this needs to be concise and professional. So ideally, we want to then talk to the other agent, give it the email that we drafted right now, give it the feedback, and then let it revise and then do the whole thing again and make it a repetitive loop. Okay. So now that we have the feedback, as I mentioned on the Miro before, we want to send it to the feedback intent agent. So first, let's rename this to human in the loop. Rename. And then now I can send it to the text classifier, because the text classifier on n8n basically takes text and classifies, basically says, hey, based on the text, this is what it is, based on the options that we give it, the categories, right? Okay, so text classify would be this right here will be the text to classify, which would be the feedback that we give it. And then it will be two categories. One is approved and one is denied, right? So approved. And then let me just copy the description from the agent that I built before. We go here. I say the sales agent approved the email and accepted the way it was written. The text that we're classifying intends that it was accepted and that everything was good. Example output, yes, that's fine. Looks good. Send it through. Now this came from actually testing, because how does the text classifier isn't always 100% correct, right? Sometimes we give it something, we say, hey, can you change this part? But it assumes that we accepted it, so it sends it to the lead. We want to make sure that we give it examples of what someone might say as a way for them to reference whether it's accepted or denied. That's why we add the examples. And then category will be denied, which will be the right here expression. Let me go here. Here, the sales agent denied the email and denied the way it was written. The text that we're classifying intends that it needs updating or changing, usually. We'll provide it with feedback on how to do so. And then we give it a few examples. So make it shorter. I don't like it. It's too long. Include other projects and no. So these are various things that you would ask the agent, or you would tell the agent. And then we tell it, hey, based on these sort of examples, this is the denied path. Now, okay, this is good. So now, as you can see, we now have two different paths. So then we can go to the side where we send the email to the lead, and then the denied path where we have to make the agent to revise. But before we do that, we have to add a model, because this thing's through an AI. So the model here will be OpenAI chat model. Again, we already connected it, so 4.1 is fine. And now that we categorized the different types of responses based on what's approved and what's denied, we can now send it two different ways. So let's do the easy one first, which is approved. In this case, we just use a Gmail node to send it to the customer. So create, send a message. Yeah, send a message. You already connected a message send to, in this case, we have to execute previous nodes. Okay, let me just add a test email. Subject line will be hello. Let me just change this real quick later. Let me just run this. Okay, pin this. And then now I believe that we have, okay, we don't have data here. So let me just run this again. And go here to my email. Make this shorter. Now this right here I can pin. And now I can use this, okay? So I can use this to say, for it to classify whether it's denied or approved. So as you can see, it went down the denied path because we said make it shorter, we give it feedback. Okay, so now we're here. I can then pull information from the form, which will be email, which will be subject line, will be in this one right here. Subject line. Actually, I need to remove hello first. And then the body of the email, which in this case, again, it's HTML. We can also put text, but we're using HTML for the actual message. Okay, so now if I test this, okay, I actually didn't get it for some reason. I didn't get any email. Let me try again to see if it works this time. Okay, I think it's because it didn't go down this path, or it's because these are pinned. Let me just unpin this, do each one individually. By the way, I'm just pressing P when I hover over this. I can try, rerun this. Okay, let's just go through the whole phase right here. I can go here, I can get an email, I can say yes, looks good, submit, go back. And now because it's approved, it will go down this path. Okay, cool. That's why. Because the text that we gave it before was the denied path. So we go here, and then I can say boost your lead generation in 1 week. We're specialized in developing lead generation tailored systems for business needs. For instance, we recently helped a real estate firm generate 20 leads. You see how it pulls in these sort of projects? We recently helped a firm generate 20 leads in 5 days after working with us, which generated 100K in pipeline. That's what it uses to in the email, right? To generate sort of authority and trust. Giving your timeline and budget, we're confident we can deliver. Okay, best regards. And now this right here, I don't want. Okay, so this is where we go here to the email node and add options. We can then append, we can turn this off. Okay, append n8n attribution. Turn this off so that we don't need, we don't have the sponsorship, which is right here. Okay, so we're name this to send, so lead email. And that's the first path for approved. So the next step is the denied path. So in this case, we get the feedback. Now we give it to another agent to revise it. Okay, so I'm gonna press add AI agent. In this case, we can name it revision agent. We don't need to connect it to a chat trigger node. I mean, we don't have it connected, so we just have to define it below. And the thing that we give it is, let me go expression, is the feedback and the email, right? So it knows both of them. So in this case, it will be feedback received, which will be this one here. And the email body, which will be this one here, right? And subject line. So we give it, okay. And now we want to give it a system message because we want to give it an identity in the whole thing that we gave it before. The only thing that changes now is the fact that now it needs to revise, but it still sends it, it still does the actual email. I'm just going to copy and paste the prompt that I wrote before, so you don't have to waste time actually writing it. And I have, you are a helpful, intelligent email assistant who needs to update a sales email based on the provided feedback. I'm gonna add the overview, which I forgot to add. The tools is the same, the rules are the same, and final notes are the same. Okay, cool. And we still have to turn this on because we still need it to be in a very specific format. In this case, it's subject line and email. Again, the only thing that changes is that this makes a revision, but the output is still the same, which is an email. So I'm gonna put this, require specific format, and now I have to connect these to a chat model, to a tool, and an output parser. The good thing about n8n is that you don't have to connect it again to a different thing. We can use the previous chat model, the previous tool, and the previous output parser. Okay, so they're connected to the same thing. So this goes here, it uses these, then it goes here, if it needs to go here, and then uses these again, so you don't have to redo it. And I can press save. And now let's test it. So let me go here. Let me use the feedback that we got from here. Let me go here. Hey, Michele, we specialize in customized lead generation systems. We recently helped. I told it to be more concise. I think that's what, yeah, more concise and professional. Visual quality discuss how you can see. Yeah, I think it's more concise, definitely more concise. I don't know about professional, but that's fine. And now to make sure that we didn't send it back to the human in the loop, to make sure that it's a whole repetitive process, we have to pen this across and put it in the edit fields. Okay, so this is where it all links together because we want it to be a repetitive loop. So we want to make the email for the first agent, which only writes the first email. Then send it to the human in the loop to make sure that we revise. If it's bad, it will revise it, send it back again. If it's bad again, it will revise it until we accept it. Okay, so it's a whole repetitive process. So there's no human, the only human in the loop is us actually approving it or denying it. But the automation is smart enough so that we can loop it back. And the reason why we're using this node right here, which I explained before, is because the output here, subject and email body, is the same type of variables that we get here, subject and email body. Okay, so this basically gets the input from here and from here, and they're all the same. The only thing that changes is the actual content, right? But the variable name, the key, this is called the key, is the same. So that's how we use that. Okay, so let me unpin this, and we can run this from the start until the end. Save, unpin this as well. Save, and now I can execute workflow. Send me here, and I can start filling out the form. James, Michael. Now, obviously this should be above. We can change it later in the form, but that's the whole form right there. Submit. And now this starts the automation. Okay, so it sends it to our CRM. So if you go here to, that was the old one, to here, sheet 1, James Michael, Media Corp, budget, authority, budget description, timeline, intent, and date submitted. It will now send it to us for revision, action required. Let's say we look at this and we say, respond. We say, you need to ask them at the end to give you a few times that work for them next week for a call. Okay, so in this case, you should send it to the denied because we gave it feedback. So see how it goes here. It will use the AI. And we use these tools as well. Send it back on their email. So could you please provide a few times that work for you next week? Let me say, make this a bit longer. So now when I submit it, it then goes back to the same thing. You see how it's a whole repetitive loop. It goes through every single time. And that's why it's a great system to have, because it doesn't really end until you accept it. I go here again. I can respond and say, yes, all good. Press submit. And now, because it's approved, it then goes here. Okay, and we get the email, which is this. So let's discuss your AI-driven automation. It made it a bit longer, like we asked it to. It also made the question here. And it added the case study right here. Okay, so that right there is, well, I mean, one step ahead that we can do is actually make only the first name, not the full name. So let's just do that right now. Let me go here. Yeah, let me actually just put first name. I think that would work in its yeah, I could do first name. And I think this needs to be split. I think it needs to be a space. Yeah, and then I can first. So this gets the first. Yeah, so this gets James. So a full name is like this, right? And this is always good to know, because when you're building automations, you want to have these sort of formulas at hand. So full name is first name, space, last name. So what we're saying is split this by the space. So it will be 1 and 2. And I want the first that comes here. So split by the space here, and then I want the first. If I said last, it will get the last name. So let me say last, it will get Michael, right? James Michael. Or Michele Torti. I mean, in this case, it will, because the full name is James Michael, it will get Michael. Okay, cool. Let me put a space here. And that right there is a full build. And as promised, if you want the full template for yourself that you can download and import into your own n8n, all you have to do is go to my school community, you go to Classroom, go to Templates Vault, and now here I will add the video of today, which is the human in the loop agent. And down here you will see the n8n automation blueprint. And if you have no clue on how to import it onto n8n, completely fine. I also made a video saying how to import blueprint to n8n. Again, the link's down below. And now you got to see what it's actually like to build automations step by step, right? It doesn't always go our way. There's some detours, there's some mistakes we make, but that's what building is actually like. It doesn't always go our way. There's some mistakes, there's some things we have to figure out along the way. There's some things we miss. As you saw, I missed a lot of things, and there's a lot of mistakes that I did throughout the whole process, but now you got to see what it's actually like. And if you like this sort of raw content where I'm actually building automation step by step, I'm showing you all the mistakes and the detours, then you're gonna love this next video on the screen, where I'm actually building an AI RAG agent system inside of n8n that allows me to scan through hundreds of documents within seconds. With that being said, I'll see you in the next one.